Roberta Ronconi, newspaper Liberazione from Italy. Two questions, if possible. The first one is very generic, but we need to know if you can, you, the director, or the others from Romania, explain to us a little bit more about law abortion in Romania, and why did you decide this theme, and which was the situation, and because if I remember well, in the East countries, abortion was legal. So maybe in Romania was a different situation, or maybe in Poland also. I don't remember well. If you can explain us a little bit the context. And the second question is, it was very strong, very shocking for all of us, very beautiful movie. But I don't understand why, and I ask to you, why you decided to not to show anything to us. You were very careful, but at the end you decide to show us the fetus moving your car down. So why? Thank you.
I will start with the second question. I decided to show what I believe it was important for the film and for the story. It was not important for the film and story to show what happened in the room. This is easy to imagine, and we've seen this in 100 of films. And this could have influenced, and it could have, you know, distracted the attention from what I wanted to say. This film is not mainly about the situation that they had to overpass. It's mostly about abortion in general. And this is why it was important for me to show that, because, you know, people have this tendency of avoiding and not thinking about what they don't like to think about. So it was really important for me to make a point, and the point that this film, I hope, makes is that people should decide being very aware of the consequences of their decision. I shot that scene in two different ways, so I can have this option of editing it differently to preserve the little child or not. And watching the way the film was edited up to that moment made me decide that I have to show it. Because, you know, people have this tendency of thinking that things are very abstract. Things are not abstract at all. Once you pass through a situation like this, if you are struck by something, you are struck by the fact that that thing is human, and it's not something abstract. It's not you know, a number of cells or something that, and you need to pass through that the way I remember things happen, to think about things a little bit. And I wanted very much that people that would see this film overpass this stage of believing that, you know, this is a story, this is a general story, nothing precisely is going to be shown. It was really important for me in the film, and I avoided on purpose showing the sex scene in the room, so that I wouldn't put pressure on this scene, which was much more important for me in the film. About the context in Romania then, you don't remember well, at least about Romania. Abortion were legal in Romania up to, I think, 1966. When there was this law, Ceausescu gave this very famous law that banned abortion in order to have very big generations of people that would fulfill, you know, the expectations of the communist perfect world. So the effect of that was that immediately after, in the years that followed, up to like 1970, something like this, there were 4 or 5 very big generations, huge generations of people, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times bigger than before. And at the beginning, people and women were not prepared at all. So they needed some time, and there were a lot of children that came on this world this way, and me, I came on this world this way because, you know, I belong to such a generation, and this is why I felt finally that it's important for me to make such a film. Later on, people tried to fight against the regime and to appeal to any kind of avoiding pregnancy, but whenever this wasn't possible, they appealed to abortion. And after 1970, for example, abortion became quite popular on such conditions that I describe here. They weren't legal, but everybody could try and hire somebody like this. It depended a lot about, not only how much money you had, but what was your social position. For example, people which were, belonging to a bit a higher class could appeal to some doctor, not absolutely legal, but could appeal to some doctor. But for, very simple people with very limited possibilities, this was practically impossible. And I chose to make a story about this because the kind of communism that we experienced was different. We lived 20 years later than the 50s, when you could have been arrested for your convictions. But still, some of that pressure that was on us during that period influenced mostly the way we decided later. And for me, one important issue regarding this story is that because of the pressure of the regime, women and families were so much concerned about not being caught for making an illegal abortion that they didn't give, 1 minute of a thought about the moral issue. It was no moral issue. It was either you or them getting you for what you did. And I think this is one of the causes that explained the situation in the early 90s. One of the first signs of freedom in Romania after the fall of communism was to make abortions legal again. One of the first measures that was taken. Because people experienced this as, the ultimate freedom that they needed. And we needed a lot, 10 years to make this abortion rate be, not normal, but to drop a bit. In the first 2 years, we had, nearly 1 million abortions in a country of 20 million people, because abortion was somehow confused with not having children. So instead of, making something before, people believe this is something that, you can use for avoiding having a child.
Thank you. There's a question here.
My name is Karim Kujuk, and I'm here representing the Arab Radio and Television. First of all, thank you so much for the movie. It's quite a very good one. And practically speaking, this is part of the question. I mean, the Romanian artists are really capable of making wonderful movies, but still, why isn't the Romanian cinema that popular worldwide? Is it only because of language difficulties, or does it have to do with the marketing stuff or something like that? This is one part of the question. With that, one more thing, you said before that you really prefer to shoot locations and not sets. Why is that? Did you mean that you prefer reality? You'd like to be as far as possible from being artificial? Thank you so much.
I hope I'm going to answer the second question first. I hope it really helps actors a lot to be placed in a real context, in a real situation, and in a real environment. As you know, sets are very conventional in a way, and actors should make an extra effort to get into the situation in a place which is not looking at all like, the real place where the situation would have happened. This is one thing, and the other thing is that you never can get the same flavor from a set that you can have from a real space. And one of the things which I like to exploit a lot in my films is the relation between my set, the interior where I shoot, and the exterior. And this is present everywhere in the film whenever possible. And this is not easy to make in a set. I absolutely want, for example, in this room, to see that there is life outside. There is life outside going on. They are there because they belong to the situation, but life goes on. Nobody really cares about what happens inside. About your first question, I think that somehow this is the fate of a regional cinema, of a cinema that is connected and strongly in connection with his language, not having, a very strong tradition of popular films worldwide, because you can't really fight the tradition of your cinema, and not having stars. The main, the basic condition of being popular is to use stars. We are completely outside of this star system, but I think we can be quite pleased with the level of attention that we got and that we have on the Romanian cinema in the last 4 or 5 years. And this helped us not only becoming popular in festivals, but also becoming a little more popular in theaters here. Because the direct and immediate consequence of being popular, for example, in a festival like Cannes, is that the film got distribution. But you can't really make big steps. It's never going to be, you know, like Romanian cinema is never going to be like, you know, very popular, not even in Europe. But if we keep having this trend, it's going to be reasonably popular and, most important, to the necessary level of quality.
Je m'appelle Eugenia Vodă, je suis compatriote du metteur en scène et je préfère poser la question en français puisque nous sommes un pays francophone. Bon, et pour l'assistance, puisque le metteur en scène a fait quelques à propos biographiques, je voudrais dire seulement que j'ai vu dans le scénario une espèce de vengeance royale ou délibération du metteur en scène qui a voulu initialement étudier la médecine en Roumanie. Heureusement, il n'a pas réussi à le faire. Alors, j'ai vu dans les notes du réalisateur que le film contenait une séquence très importante initialement, la rencontre de la fille avec le père. Et la séquence a été jetée, mais dans la fiche des interprètes, l'acteur y est là et il est un très bon acteur roumain. Alors pour les happy few qui sont ici, je voudrais vous demander comment est la séquence, comment elle a été cadrée dans ce film d'une grande originalité visuelle, la manière de raconter et la vraie réussite de ce film. Donc qu'est-ce qu'ils disent et comment est-ce qu'ils font dans cette séquence pour nous, seulement pour...
Cet travail avec Cristian Mungiu dans ce film, c'était un grand plaisir et une très bonne chance pour moi. On a travaillé avant le tournage. Je demandais à Cristian, j'ai posé beaucoup de questions. Et on a parlé de ce sujet qui est Monsieur Bébé. Il n'est pas docteur, il est quelqu'un. Et dans le film, le personnage d'Anna Maria me demande où tu travailles. Je ne sais pas, c'est important où je travaille. Moi, je dois faire quelque chose et si tu veux, moi, je viens si tu veux pas. Donc, c'est pas blanc et noir, c'est très gris, c'est Monsieur Bébé. C'est un mélange de simplicité, de horribilité, c'est très méchant comme personnage et après il devient brusquement normal. Donc Monsieur Bébé, c'est dans son cœur, il est mélangé tout le temps. Je pense qu'il a beaucoup de problèmes sexuels. Donc, mais je pense aussi que le rencontre avec un homme comme ça, c'est pas du tout une belle rencontre.
Cristian, maintenant.
You're not going to be the only one having access to that scene because we plan to place it on the DVD of the film. I really like that scene. So I want to preserve it somehow. Basically, it was what I really have it in the film for at the beginning is that I wanted to see the relationship between these girls and their parents, to understand something about the kind of education that they got and the kind of complete lack of communication with their parents on such matters. I really think that part of the decision that they were making belonged to this complete lack of communication with their parents because of the education that they got. So I created this long scene also, like all the others in the film, which was shot on a plain shot towards the characters. And it is for us that typical scene of the Romanian father coming from a smaller town to a bit bigger university town and bringing Zakuska with him, and you know, that little things that people would bring, and he comes in his car that he got from his factory just for that morning for 20 minutes to see the girl and to take the laundry to wash them at home, that kind of scene. And I really like the scene, the way it went up to the end. But I knew from the moment when I shot it that I might not use it in the film, because it became clearer for us with every day that we work on this film that this film is going to have a main character, and that main character should be Ottilia. And I preferred to drop that scene out for the narrative coherence of the film. She belongs to all the scenes in the film. She's the person leading us through the story. And when I placed that scene in the film and I watched it, it looks like an interruption. So I decided that no matter how good the scene was, it's better for the scene in general to have the strength to take it out. And I wanted to thank the actor, Costica Babi. I placed him finally on the credits, somehow to thank him for a great scene that he did. But he's going to be present in the film only on the DVD version.
Okay.
Oui, bonjour, Julien Schreiber.
Be very concentrated while filming. You couldn't improvise or anything. So I think this was the difficulty for me. And I don't know what to tell you about reacting at these days. I don't know. I really don't. You know, back then in '87, when the action of the film takes place, I was very young, terribly young. I was 3 years old, so I can't remember very clearly what happened then. I was a child, and communism for me didn't make that deep stain that made on other people, which lived in communism longer. And well, I guess that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
When I write, I'm not listing the characteristics of my characters to make them, look in a certain way. I think it's better to allow them to have kind of a freedom. So I have this kind of a profile in mind when I write, but I try to allow the characters to react in a situation the way I believe they would have reacted normally. So for me, the character that Laura plays in the film, this Gabica, is, if you want, kind of a very selfish and self-centered person that thinks a bit, about herself. And it's that kind of a profile of a young girl that expects and needs help from anybody else. But it was important for me up to the end of the film to see that she's not the main victim of this. And that finally you can imagine that she's a bit stronger than the other girl, and she knows better what to do and how to get out of this situation. And if you want, she's a bit more, I don't know, I wouldn't say... Finally, she goes to that restaurant in the last scene because her personal emotions and what she feels is stronger than everything which is abstract for her. And it's not... it's really important for me that the person which is going to think over after the last scene in the film is going to be the other character.